Welcome, guys. This is going to be a 3-part playlist, well 4 if you include the introduction or the sneak peek. But there'll be 3 parts. And the first 2 parts, I will just be reading the book without any reader's notes or interjection. And then the third and the final one will be me giving my interpretation of exactly what went on and try to sort some things out and make some things clearer. I've already poked my head down into the proverbial rabbit hole, and I found some things and I brought them back out, and I'll share them with you at the very end of the playlist. Also, for anyone who has not yet seen the preview or the sneak peek, I suggest that you look at that before you watch this one. If you look up at the right-hand corner of your screen right now, you should see a link, and you can just stop this video and click that, and then come back and watch this. Part 1, Road to the Moon, by George Washington Carey. Is it possible that an insane man may see and express a great truth? Is it necessary to become insane in order that we may cognize the esoteric reality? Do you believe that I am insane? Do you realize that there are simple problems that will never be solved by so-called sane persons? The above questions, and a dozen more along the same line, were hurled at me in rapid succession by the Moon Explorer, as he persisted in calling himself. During the summer of 1904, I was a traveling salesman for a St. Louis pharmacy company. A business engagement had called me to Portland, Maine, and one evening I took a trolley ride out to the government fortifications on the bay. I wore my Graham Army button, and I was admitted to the Army parade ground, although it was not Visitors' Day. The officer, Major Lincoln, was an affable and altogether agreeable host. After dress parade, we strolled through the fortifications, and we talked on many different subjects. I found the Major was quite enthusiastic on the subject of astrology and astronomy, and especially interested at the particular moment in everything pertaining to the moon. It was the evening of the full moon in July, on Moon's Day too, and curiously enough in the lunar hour, and Major Lincoln remarked, "In a few minutes the moon will rise as she has for untold ages, so far as we know, and yet, with all our boasted wisdom, with all our telescopes and spectroscopes, and marvelous instruments of precision for measuring, weighing, and analyzing, we know almost absolutely nothing about the moon. Why, don't you know," he continued, "that one of our most noted astronomers, who enjoys the privilege of looking at the moon through a 40-inch telescope, was recently quoted as saying, 'I know nothing about the moon, its degree of density, its weight, real size, as only one side has ever seen, nor how it came to be where it is, how long it's been there, nor what office it fills in the solar system.' Some acknowledgement that is, hey?" The Major leaned over and rested his elbows on one of the mighty guns that lie open-throated towards the incoming tides, ever ready to speak the eloquent language of war, and he fixed his eyes on the orb of night, now an hour high. As I studied his features, I thought, what a shame that a man of so finely balanced head and physique, or any image of God for that matter, should have to devote his life to the brutal, senseless, and altogether unnecessary business of war. After a minute or two, Major Lincoln consulted his watch and smilingly remarked, "We must go outside, or the guard will run us in, for it will soon be 9 o'clock. Taps." As we walked out, I asked the Major if he thought that the moon problem would ever be solved. "I do not know," he answered gravely, "but we have a very strange specimen of the genus scientific hobo rara, here commonly defined as tramp and ordinary, who says that he knows all about the moon. He even claims that he's been there, and he says that he is the pioneer moon explorer. In fact, he declares that there's a good road to the moon." I laughed and I answered carelessly, "Why don't you have him locked up? He is evidently loony." "Just my idea," replied the Major, though I noticed he had no answering smile for my bantering tone, and he rather winced at the attempted pleasantry. After a pause, he added, "Seriously, there is a mystery about the fellow I cannot fathom. Insane, yes, of course, there's no question about that. But, well, at any rate, I would like you to meet him. He lives in the house tent over there," pointing to the tent about 100 yards away, "and he has made himself very useful to me in many ways. I have been glad to have him remain. He's quite harmless, I assure you. His principal hobby now is to find a person who was born on his birthday, September 7th. "Well," I remarked, "perhaps he will find in me that fellow that he is looking for. My mother seems to rather cling to the idea that I was born on September the 7th. "By Jove!" exclaimed the Major. "Is that a fact? How remarkable! Come, you must see him at once," as taps were then heard for lights out. The Major added, "The last car leaves for the city at 10, so you will have a full hour to interview Moon Explorer. By the way, he never says the moon." We hurried over to the tent, and we found the Explorer of Luna lying on the grass outside and gazing up at the moon. The Major said to him, "This gentleman tells me that he was born on September the 7th. I will leave him to you, as I must return to the barracks." Then bidding me good night, after a warm invitation to call again, he walked rapidly away. Moon Explorer sprang up quickly and gripped both of my hands into his, gazing eagerly into my eyes, as one would search their depths for hidden treasures. Then, with a sigh of relief and gratification, he said, "I believe you. You look it. Rather tall, slim, light muscles, full of fire and vim and energy. Wiry, alert. You're much like myself, yes. You certainly must have been born on September the 7th. When Mercury, the lord of our lives, lured you to this planet to be, like all of his children, a messenger of the gods, he had a mission for you to perform, and for that reason chose the mystic 7th to be your natal day. Do you understand?" I was plainly mystified, and I shook my head with such an air of bewilderment that he hastened to add, "Never mind. If not now, very soon. For no son of Mercury can sleep very long. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. But it is an actual demonstrable fact that Moon is attached to the Earth by an umbilical cord. The Earth is the uterus, the divine womb of the solar system. Earth is the mother of the planets, Sun, Soul, or Soul, the father. Moon is a baby planet not yet fully born, still held by the umbilical cord, while Earth as a whole may be called the womb or uterus, of but no more now. You will soon know all. Goodbye." I caught the car and returned to my hotel. I must confess that my experience during the 4 hours from 6 to 10 p.m. had nearly upset my nerves. I went out to a coffee house and I called for a pot of coffee with a stick in it, returning to my room at 11 p.m., determined to read that manuscript if I had to remain awake until the morning. To be continued. So what's in that manuscript, you guys? What do you think happened to the Moon Explorer? What do you think that Carey thinks about all of this? Find out in part 2. That and much, much more. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell so that you receive future notifications. Like, comment below, and share on your own social media platforms. Love yourselves and love each other unconditionally.